Welcome to another episode of the Southwest Desert. Today, we're delving into the intriguing tale of Black Butte and its legendary golden treasure. This story has captivated prospectors and adventure seekers for over a century, with its promise of riches and its enigmatic nature. So sit back, relax, and let's journey into the heart of the California desert to uncover the secrets of Black Butte. Our story begins in the early 1900s, in the harsh and unforgiving landscape of Imperial County, California. Southeast of a place called Midway Wells, in an area known as the Little Chocolate Mountains, there stands a geological oddity that has become the stuff of legend. Black Butte, as it came to be known, is said to be a massive formation visible for miles around. But here's where things get strange. This butte is reported to appear and disappear before the very eyes of those who seek it. The origins of the Black Butte legend can be traced back to 1906. It was a time of rapid expansion in the American West, with railroads pushing ever further into previously unexplored territories. Our story starts at a railroad camp, situated near where the town of Glamis now stands. One day, seemingly out of nowhere, a Native American woman stumbled into the camp. She was in dire straits, carrying a heavy pack and clearly suffering from severe dehydration. The railroad workers, taking pity on the woman, directed her to their water barrel. But tragedy struck. The water in the barrel was ice cold, and the sudden shock to her system proved fatal. The Native American woman collapsed and died shortly after drinking, leaving behind her mysterious burden, a collection of what appeared to be nothing more than dirty black rocks. Thank you for joining your desert frontiersman Alan of another Southwest adventure. Please leave a like or comment. For more desert journeys, hit the subscribe button. In the aftermath of this sad event, the workers didn't think much of the woman's cargo. Some of the black rocks were tossed aside while the rest were buried along with her body. Little did they know that these unremarkable-looking stones held a secret that would spark a gold rush and create a lasting mystery. It wasn't until a month or two later that the true nature of these rocks was discovered. A railroad surveyor, perhaps bored one evening, idly scraped at one of the discarded black rocks. To his amazement, he noticed a yellow streak appear beneath the dark surface. Intrigued, he continued scraping, and as the black coating fell away, his eyes widened in disbelief. There, in his hand, was a gold nugget. News of this discovery spread like wildfire. The surveyor, realizing the potential wealth at his fingertips, desperately tried to recover all of the black rocks. But it was too late. The secret was out. The impact was immediate and dramatic. Railroad workers abandoned their posts en masse, leaving the construction project temporarily halted. Everyone who heard the tale was gripped by gold fever, scrambling to secure supplies and head out into the desert. Their goal? To retrace the steps of the ill-fated Native American woman and locate the source of these golden nuggets disguised as black rocks. But the desert is an unforgiving place, especially for those unprepared for its challenges. Of the many who ventured out, seeking their fortune, a shocking number never returned. Those few who did make it back came empty-handed, with no sign of the elusive black rocks or their source. As often happens with such tales, interest in the black rocks eventually waned. Years passed, and the story faded into the background, becoming just another whispered legend in the saloons and camps of the frontier. But like all good legends, it was destined to resurface. One day, an old prospector walked into Yuma, Arizona, carrying samples of the fabled black gold. His arrival reignited the fervor that had gripped the region years before. The entire town was thrown into a frenzy of excitement. As the day wore on and the liquor flowed freely, the old prospector's tongue loosened. While he wouldn't reveal the exact location of his find, he did let slip one crucial detail. The gold came from a black butte that's so big that you can see it from miles around. Unfortunately, like many characters in tales of lost treasure, the old prospector's story came to an abrupt and mysterious end. He died later that night, taking the secret of the Black Butte's location with him to the grave. His tantalizing clue, however, was enough to send a new wave of prospectors into the hills. But once again, their efforts proved fruitless. The massive Black Butte remained hidden, and interest in the legend once more began to fade. Our story might have ended there, consigned to the annals of frontier mythology, if not for a chance encounter just as the First World War was drawing to a close. Enter Mr. Hand, an Eastern capitalist who had come to Imperial Valley in search of better health. During the war, he had served as a director of manganese production, a role that had taken a severe toll on his well-being. Mr. Hand's path crossed with certain gentlemen during a goose hunting expedition. Impressed by the hunting skills on display, Mr. Hand invited the group to dinner. As often happens when strangers gather in the West, talk eventually turned to tales of lost mines and hidden treasures. It was then that the story of the black gold was shared with Mr. Hand. This is where the tale takes an interesting turn. Mr. Hand, with his extensive knowledge of manganese, had a theory. He believed that the black coating on the gold nuggets might actually be manganese. If this were true, it could mean an even greater fortune than gold alone. Excited by the possibility, Mr. Hand engaged the men to hunt for the legendary Black Butte. And so, a new expedition was launched. The search party made camp at Midway Wells and set out at dawn the next day. Fate, it seemed, had a sense of humor. Just as they were getting started, they suffered a setback, a flat tire. It was during this delay, as that one of the men went to take a drink from the canteen, that the impossible happened. There, right before his eyes, stood the Black Butte. In a moment of shock, he dropped the canteen and called for his companions. All three men stood in awe, staring at the massive formation that had appeared as if by magic on the desert landscape. Their elation was short-lived, however. In the blink of an eye, the butte vanished, leaving the men to question whether they had really seen it at all. Determined to solve the mystery, the group set off in the direction where they had seen the butte appear. Their journey led them to a wide, deep wash. Leaving their vehicle behind, they proceeded on foot. As they emerged from the wash, they were greeted by an astonishing sight. There, towering several hundred feet into the air, was the Black Butte. The men's excitement grew as they approached the butte. The first thing they noticed was evidence of previous human activity, the remains of a large camp. Even more intriguing was the entrance to a mine that had been dug into the side of the butte. Although the mine had partially collapsed, making thorough exploration impossible, what they found inside was remarkable. The mine tunnels were littered with pieces of high-grade manganese ore, some as large as a man's head or even bigger. The quality of the ore was exceptional, so pure that it could be polished to a mirror-like finish with minimal effort. This discovery seemed to confirm Mr. Hand's theory about the nature of the black coating on the gold nuggets. As the men climbed the butte, they made more observations. The lower part of the formation was covered in pure manganese, visible on the surface. The upper portion, while likely composed of the same material, was obscured by a cap of vegetation. This vegetative cover, they theorized, might be responsible for the butte's mysterious ability to disappear at certain times of the day. Despite their thorough exploration, the men found no trace of gold. They initially concluded that previous miners must have exhausted the gold deposits. However, later studies would suggest that this assumption was incorrect. There may still be gold waiting to be discovered within Black Butte. From their vantage point atop the butte, the men made another surprising discovery. Looking out over the desert, they spotted wagon tracks leading from the abandoned camp towards the Colorado River. This river, at the time, marked the boundary between the United States and Mexico. This observation led to an intriguing theory. During World War I, the United States had been importing manganese from an unspecified location in Mexico. They speculated that this mine might have been the source of that manganese. They theorized that Mexican operators had been working the mine and selling the manganese back to the U.S. as a Mexican product. After collecting samples and carefully noting the Butte's position, the group returned to town, their minds racing with the possibilities their discovery presented. Mr. Hand, upon examining their finds, declared it to be the finest manganese he had ever seen. Excited by the potential, he proposed a celebration dinner during which he planned to draw up a contract that would make them all wealthy beyond their wildest dreams. In his enthusiasm, Mr. Hand insisted on joining the men on their next goose hunting expedition. This decision would prove fateful, not just for Mr. Hand, but for the future of Black Butte as well. The harsh conditions of the hunt, the cold and the wet, proved too much for Mr. Hand's already fragile health. He contracted double pneumonia and, tragically, passed away less than 2 weeks later. With Mr. Hand's death, the plans for exploiting the manganese deposits of Black Butte fell apart. His friends found themselves without financial backing or a clear path forward. They came to realize that they were among a very select group. Only 9 or 10 people were known to have ever laid eyes on the elusive Butte. Interestingly, despite their incredible discovery, none of the men ever returned to Black Butte. The reasons for this are not entirely clear. Perhaps the memory of Mr. Hand's untimely death cast a shadow over the venture, or maybe the challenges of accessing and developing such a remote location seemed too daunting without significant financial resources. As for the legendary gold that started this whole saga, it seems that apart from the Native American woman and the old prospector, no one else ever found it. The story of Black Butte didn't end with that expedition, however. Word of its existence and potential mineral wealth eventually reached government ears. In the 1940s, it was rumored that the government was likely organizing a search for the Butte. Whether such a search ever took place and what it might have found remains a mystery. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Black Butte legend is its apparent ability to appear and disappear. Even today, people continue to search for this enigmatic formation, but it seems that the Butte reveals itself only under specific conditions. According to rumor, one of the best times to spot Black Butte is early in the morning. This detail adds an almost mystical quality to the legend, suggesting that even with modern technology and mapping techniques, Black Butte might still guard its secrets. As we conclude our exploration of the Black Butte legend, we're left with more questions than answers. Does the Butte still stand somewhere in the California desert, waiting to be rediscovered? Are there still gold nuggets encased in their manganese shells, scattered across its slopes? Will someone someday solve the mystery of its appearing and disappearing act? Thank you for joining us on this journey into the heart of a Southwest legend. Until next time, keep your eyes on the horizon. You never know what mysteries might reveal themselves in the light of the desert sun. Please leave a like or comment. For further desert romps, hit the subscribe button. Happy trails!